No.
Do you have the money to afford a lawyer in the divorce case?
No.
So this was joint custody,
Yes, ma'am.
and he had primary physical custody.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, pursuant to that child custody agreement, what order was put in place regarding visitation with children? Was that supervised or unsupervised on your part?
I think to satisfy Tim, it was supervised by him.
All right.
So I agreed to that, yes, because I was willing to do whatever I had to do to see my children. Absolutely.
And at this divorce hearing, was he represented by an attorney
Yes, he was.
or you?
No, ma'am.
And so at that divorce hearing, it's supervised visitation
Yes.
for you to see your children.
Yes.
And who was to supervise your visits with your own children?
Tim.
Is there anything in that order that would allow you to have the children in your home, the home you shared with Sean and your mother-in-law?
No.
What, if anything, did the defendant ever say to you about whether the children could live with you?
That was never going to happen. My children were never going to be with me.
After your separation, were there times that he tried to encourage you to come back with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you ever accept his offer for you to come back to the marriage?
No, I think as a mother, I went back and forth with in my head for my children, but I did not.
Now, eventually, were you able to contribute to the support of the children?
Yes.
And how did you go about doing that?
I bought them clothing. I bought them what they needed and then some. I offered to give Tim some checks. I think at one point I asked him not to cash one immediately, but I did write some checks.
Provide support for the children,
Yes, ma'am.
in addition to clothing?
Yes, I bought them clothes, things they might need for school, diapers, wipes. Absolutely.
When you would have the supervised visitation with your children, where did that normally occur?
Chick-fil-A.
Who would be present for those visitations?
Tim and my 5 children.
Who decided the when and where of when you would have visitation with your children?
Tim.
So let's move forward to the time frame of 2014. How frequently was Tim allowing you to see the children?
It was becoming less and less frequent.
Would he always follow through with the supervised visits?
Not all the time. There were times that he caved in or would give me an answer as to, well, one of them got in trouble at school or something along those lines where I wasn't able to see them. It was their punishment.
So part of the punishment for the children would be to take away the visitation.
Yeah, and sometimes on an honest note, sometimes I was not able to make it myself. I didn't have the gas.
What, if anything, did you ever hear the defendant say to the children about taking away the visitation from you?
He would just simply tell them, hey, you misbehaved at school, now you don't get to see her. Guess you don't get to see her on Saturday.
Ms. Kyzer, did you ever say to your children that you did not want them?
No, ma'am.
Now, did you become aware of a DSS report regarding the time in May of 2004?
I'm sorry, can you restate it?
Did you become aware of a DSS report regarding the time in May of
I was made aware of that.
2014? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Did DSS ever come to meet with you about that case?
No.
2014. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes, I do.
When would you normally speak with your children?
I would call at 7 o'clock every night. Sorry. So sorry. Sorry, give me a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Please find me a call.
She asked for a minute.
I'm sorry.
Huh?
I would call Tim's phone.
Call us when that time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Questions about that. Who went to the phone when you called?
Tim did, but he had it on speakerphone.
What happened next?
I heard my son crying. And I asked him what was wrong.
Which son?
My son, Natan. I said, son, what's wrong? He said, Mom, I didn't mean to. And Tim was going on in the background, and you could have killed yourself, son. And then got mad at me because I was trying to calm my son down,
What did you say to him?
but it was okay.
What could you hear the time doing?
Dry heaving, like
What do you mean by that?
like that. Like gasping for air because he had been crying so much. Like he couldn't catch his breath. Like he was just like that.
You told Natan it was okay.
Yeah.
What happened next?
And Tim got mad and said, why do you always have to defend the kids? I guess you could say I always defended the kids. He was more the disciplinary, I was not. I went on to disagree with him and let him know that I didn't think, that I thought that my son had gotten the point and that I was tired of hearing my kids crying all the time. And Tim hung up the phone and before he hung up the phone, told me to shut the fuck up and hung up the phone. Sorry for the language.
He said that and hung up the phone. Amber, at the end of that conversation, you heard Natan in the background. What was the tone of voice of the defendant, Timothy Jones Jr.?
He was outraged. He was outraged.
At any point in time, did he say he was afraid of Natan?
No,
At any point in time, did he say Natan was trying to kill him?
no. All he said was, you're going to kill yourself. You could have killed yourself, son.
Talking to Natan.
Yes.
And after he hangs up the phone with you, what did you do next?
I tried calling him back. I called and I called and I called.
Is it possible to know how many times you called? More than one time?
Yes, ma'am. Maybe 6 or 7, guesstimate. I don't know.
Have you seen a phone log of calls that were made in this case, Ms. Kyzer?
Yes, ma'am.
And in addition to making calls after the phone was hung up on you by the defendant, did you also leave any type of message?
I did. I left, I believe, a couple voicemails.
One message or more than one message?
I can't remember.
Going to show you
Sorry.
the document and ask you whether or not you recognize it and whether or not that's a fair and accurate reflection of the phone calls that you made to Timothy Jones on the night of August 28, 2014.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'm going to show you 3 items and ask you whether or not you recognize them, and if so, how.
I would say voicemail that I left for Tim.
And how do you recognize it? Does it bear your initials?
Bears my initials.
You've heard this recording?
Yes, ma'am.
This recording on August 28th at 9:16 p.m. Can you tell us whether or not it's a fair and accurate representation of your voicemail in its entirety?
Yes, ma'am.
This item?
It's another voicemail with my initials, again on August 28th at 9:34 p.m.
And you've heard it in its entirety?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it a fair and accurate representation of the message you left?
Yes, ma'am.
And then finally, this item?
That's another voicemail left on 8/24.